Hello, friends. Welcome to the Veterinary Life Coach Podcast. Today, I have a return guest for you. Her name is Murray Vachon. She is the creator and founder of Inner Challenge, a mental wellness program and masterclass. She hosts a podcast entitled Creating Midlife Calm that was chosen by Maria Shriver as her Listen of the Week in January 2024. She's the co-author of The Power and Pain of Nursing, Self-Care Practices to Protect and Replenish Compassion, and she has had more than 50,000 therapy sessions supporting clients through anxiety, depression, parenting challenges, and life transitions. And if you didn't hear her before, it was podcast number 380, and we had a wonderful conversation, so I wanted to have her back. Welcome back, MJ.
Oh, I'm so happy to be back, Julie. Thank you
Yeah,
so
we had a
much.
really good conversation, and
We
I'm like,
did. It was
I
great.
love all the things you teach. So I'm really excited. So today we thought we would start talking a little bit about conflict because that's something that MJ works with a lot in her practice. And I told her that veterinarians have a lot of practice with conflict in their teams, with the clients, all the things. So we're going to start with conflict and then see where we end up.
Yeah.
Right, MJ?
Yep. No, I think conflict, our culture is swimming in it.
Ugh, it's so bad now, isn't it?
Yes, it's we're just all drowning in conflict or difference, whatever, you know, level of intensity. So I'm glad we're going to talk about this today.
Yeah. So where do we start? How would you start to talk about um this
I guess
discussion?
I want to talk about it from what I imagine is a vet's perspective.
Okay, do so. I can correct
And
you if I think you're wrong.
yeah. Okay. And I'm really pulling this from my work with people in the medical field
Hmm.
who, especially ER, who
Yeah,
deal a lot with conflict.
sure.
And I guess I want to begin by saying the obvious. You probably don't deserve to be treated the way you're often treated by people.
It's absolutely.
And yeah, and if we understand that what adds more tension to a conflict is this reality that we don't want to be treated the way people are treating us,
Right.
that kind of helps. And I think people have to start thinking about conflict from a values perspective. What value am I bringing to conflict? And typically, people bring the value of, I want to be right.
Mm, yes.
And that's human and that's understandable because when do we know that we're not right? Do you
When
know?
someone proves us wrong.
Right. So it's helpful to understand that everybody thinks they're right until they're proven wrong.
Right.
But most of the conflicts are not, this is a dog, and the vet says, no, it's really a cat. Most conflicts are about preference and different perspective.
Mm,
And so then you have to shift to, if conflicts are about a different perspective and about preference, then what becomes my value? Is my value, I want my perspective and, you know, experience to be right? Or can I soften a bit? And as the professional, as the person who probably more is expected in a conflict, can you soften to, I want to understand your perspective? Don't have to agree with it. And so that is easy to say on a podcast. I'm going to move from I'm right to I want to understand your perspective. That
even
is a
if you're wrong.
skill, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
you can think someone's wrong and still want to learn why they think they're right.
right, right. And you can think someone's wrong, and then if you can hang in with the conflict, you may find out that you weren't totally right
Mm, sure.
because
Yeah.
there are things that happen. So, this is one of the reasons that I developed my masterclass, Inner Challenge, because this is not really a therapy issue. This is an emotional wellness issue of how do I solve conflicts, right? People come to therapy and there's conflicts that have to be solved. But
Sure.
not everybody has anxiety or depression. but
Right.
everybody has conflicts.
Yes. Yeah. Of different varying degrees.
That's right. Right.
Some are very simple and you can just let them go in one ear and out the other, and some are big and
Yeah.
emotional.
And what is big and emotional to you is not big and emotional to someone else.
Sure.
So we have our own reactions to conflict. And there's a lovely little saying in therapy land, and it says, what is hysterical is historical. So what is hysterical is historical.
Yeah.
When I say that, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think it depends on whether you're meaning hysterical funny or hysterical crazy. I think of more like if you're overreacting, that it lasts, like it affects people and it's
Yes.
lasting. That's kind of what it means to me.
Yes. So hysterical is an overreaction
Right.
to an event.
Yeah.
And again, when you're talking about staff, when you're talking about customers, their overreactions, you may see like that makes no sense. But if you knew their whole life story, you'd say, oh, historically, that makes sense for them.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
And so, again, some people will say, but MJ, you're just giving them excuses for behaving badly. I'm not giving an excuse. They are behaving badly because historically, something has prompted or allowed that to happen.
Right. Or they've realized that it works.
Yes.
Yeah, they get their way if they throw a fit.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but sometimes, so again, my main thing is what is someone's goal? If your goal is to be right, then you're going to have more conflicts.
Sure.
If your goal is to be relational, and we have incredible studies on this, especially in the healthcare setting, if your goal is to be relational, you will have much fewer conflicts. So then it becomes, how do I become relational?
Okay.
And one of the lessons in my master class is called psychological intelligence. And this is psychological intelligence. And psychological intelligence is understanding the dynamics that occur within ourselves and within others. And when we understand the dynamics, and often dynamics are differences, it will fuel connection and not disconnection. So this used to be an art in customer service, and now this has almost disappeared. And so what it would mean from a vet's perspective is the minute that the vet sees a staff person, a client escalating, acting in a conflictual way, they're moving from my story, I need this to wrap up, I don't have time, I got 10 more patients, to they're stopping, they're slowing down to your story. And the only line you need is, can you help me understand what's going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
The,
because a lot of people just want you to hear them and
that's
why
right.
what they're feeling at the time.
Yes.
And it's usually some emotion that they don't like.
Yes. And
Grief
if you,
or
right.
anger or frustration or whatever.
And if you understand the emotional regulation system, like here's the brain, okay? The limbic system is deep in our brain. The prefrontal cortex takes that information and organizes it and makes sense of it. But if somebody brings their emotional intensity and their brain and they match it with someone else's emotional intensity, this is not, two negatives equal a positive. This is two negatives equal an explosion.
Right.
And if you're not watching this, you can't see this. I realize my hands are like a fist and my thumb is inside my fingers. And I used to teach this in my mental wellness program in the junior high. And we would call it flipping your lid. And when people are a professional, our job is to not flip our lids.
Mm-hmm.
That's not our children's job. It's not really our client's job, though we would like adults to not flip their lids.
Sure. Yeah.
So what's really important is to decide on a value basis. I don't want to escalate conflicts in my office. And the main antidote is this one line: help me understand what's going on.
Right.
And it slows everything down because it takes the limbic system, which is fired up, out of the picture, because you have to start thinking and putting into words what's going
Logically.
on.
Right. What you're
Right.
upset about. Right.
And that's the power that professionals have. That's the power leaders have. That you can actually, through your own calmness, re-regulate another person by
Hmm.
just saying, help me understand what's going on.
Right. Yeah. I've seen that happen many, many times in my own office. And it, I think when you first, I have a lot of veterinarians tell me that they hate conflict. And it's because it's hard, right? It's hard to regulate your emotions when everybody around you is fired up.
Yeah.
And so, and it feels hard. I always describe it as, on the inside, my body's like, oh, you just got to fight back. But then my brain is saying, no, just stay calm. Just stay calm. Just let this stuff go. Oh, even if they're yelling at me, like this didn't go well for some reason and they're upset with me, just keep letting it go over. And if they can get it all out, a lot of times if you don't give them fuel, they kind of run out of steam. They run out of fire.
Yes.
It's kind of like not adding oxygen. If you're just, how can I help you? Please explain, what's going on. Tell me what happened, or what those kind of phrases,
Yes.
and not get defensive.
Yes.
Because I
So
think as
you
soon as
just
you
said,
start defending yourself, it goes up.
right. You said two things that's really important.
Okay,
One
good.
is it is hard. And you have to decide if you're going to be a person that does hard.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
The second thing that you said is you are in touch with your body
Yes.
and you feel the part of your body that says, I just want to be right here. I am defensive and I am going to get this.
Yeah, or I know I'm right. That's
Yeah,
what we think. I'm right. She's
yeah,
wrong. That didn't happen. That's a
right,
lie. Like those
right.
those are all I am right thoughts.
Yeah. And in all honesty, that's pretty unsophisticated, but very human,
Hmm.
right? Because we're not talking about right or wrong. This is the foot, right? We're
Right.
talking about an experience, an expectation, what someone thought would happen, what other people said may happen, what they read online with, vet Google or whatever. And,
Sure.
and so they come in, a client or a staff person comes in. And so when we think about, my story is I'm right, your story, you know nothing about that person's story unless you ask.
Right.
And the other thing you said that was really wise is what goes up comes down.
Hmm.
This is the science of emotion. I saw this in my office and I began saying to people, emotions go up for about 90 seconds. I said that in the 90s, I said that in the early 2000s, and then the Nikowski sisters research showed that the lifespan of an emotion, not grief, but this kind of emotion is 90 seconds.
Like anger or
Yes,
frustration or
yes.
whatever. Yeah. Okay. 90 seconds. It doesn't seem like very long, but when you're in it, it seems like a long time, right?
Yes. I one time, I worked at a school for 21 years with my mental wellness program. And one time a teacher found out she was a lover of horses. And is there anybody else like a lover of horses? Like, I think you're born with that.
Right.
And she found out during the day that her horse had died. The vet had
Oh,
called her and told her.
yeah.
And she was a very private person. I was borrowing the chairs from her classroom. And after school, I had a program that night with parents. She wanted the chairs back in her room. And I said, oh, remember, I have the parent program tonight. And she literally went off on me. Like, I've never in my life had anyone go off on me like this teacher.
Yeah. Just
And
screaming at you, huh?
she was screaming at me. She was like, I'm sick of you borrowing my chairs. It's so disruptive. And I was so overwhelmed that I felt like her head, it seemed like it enlarged, like,
With
but
anger.
yes. But I grounded my feet and right behind her was a clock with a second hand. And I said to myself, say nothing for 90 seconds. And she went up, she went down, and she marched out. And this all happened in front of students. And the students were like, oh my gosh, what was that?
What
You
happened?
know,
Yeah.
and so, later on, she got home, she called me, she apologized. But the point is, it literally was about 105 seconds. So it's not always 90 seconds, but
Right. Somewhere in
we
that
think we're going
neighborhood.
to, yeah, it felt like 10 minutes
Sure.
and it was really humiliating. But I didn't do anything to humiliate myself. I just felt humiliated. So
Sure.
I stayed with my values. And I mean, this happened 20 years ago. And it's one of my proudest moments of my life because she was being ridiculous,
Right.
And so, like, we have much more ability to stay calm and to stay connected to our values. Because as much as I like to be right, I actually want to be value centered and I want
Right.
to treat somebody the way I want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do want someone who is dysregulated. I don't want to add to their pain.
Right. That's a really good thought. That would be something that would help you when you're in a conflict situation to think that
Yes.
I don't want to add to their pain because we deal with a lot of people in pain. I say that many of the people we deal with in conflict are in grief. And it's not
Yes.
always grief that they lost their pet. Sometimes it's grief that they had to take the day off of work to come in and see us. And sometimes it's a loss of money because they have to pay a big vet bill. Sometimes it's a loss of time because, they're missing their kid's soccer game because they had to bring the dog to the vet. So I think that's the grief thought helps me stay grounded. And even if they're unreasonable, that it's okay and I can handle it because they're grieving whatever
Yes.
their loss is. And so I
That's why
think,
that line, oh, sorry.
go ahead. No,
I,
no, go ahead.
that's why that line, what is hysterical is historical.
Yes.
Historical is there is something that has nothing to do with you as the
Right.
staff person, as the vet,
Mm-hmm.
that's making this not right sized.
Right. Yeah. There's something unreasonable going on and it's not your fault.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I had a,
so you have to practice this skill. And if you have children or pets at home, you can practice this skill 40 times a day.
yeah. Yeah. I was practicing it last night with my dog Trent because he got up at 2 a.m. and he wanted to go out. And I was like, go to sleep.
Yes. And I think you say it laughingly, but I have this cat at home that goes in and out 400 times a day. And I really use the cat as a teacher to help me become more patient.
Sure.
Like, this is what makes a cat's life happy.
Right.
And I really love this cat. I want this cat to be happy. And so why not just be calm and let the cat out and then
Let
let the
it in
cat
and
in?
out. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Right.
and so, like, we can do this. And the thing is, once we commit, I'm not adding to all the tension in the world. I actually want to be a person who helps regulate the world.
Mm.
Conflict goes down by half.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because even if there's just two people involved and you stay calm, that's half.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
and I almost never have conflict anymore. And I think it's because I bring a different energy.
Mm.
And so people will usually say to me, I'm not happy about this. Or, I had an incident in a store lately where I couldn't believe the woman wasn't going off on me. Like, I they were supposed to do something for me. They didn't do it. They didn't return they made so many mistakes, right?
Right.
And she was sure they had not made any mistakes. But phone records don't lie,
Yeah,
right? So she
you had
looked
the
up,
goods.
yes. And so, but it didn't matter. Like, that probably would have mattered 10 years ago. Probably would have
Sure.
been pretty mean, right?
Right.
And I could tell, like, this is a pretty strong defended woman. And she's proud of what she does. They run a really good business, but not with me, unfortunately.
Right.
And she just said, like, I could just see her like fighting herself from not getting mad. And then she's like, is there anything we can do for you? Because I don't think I've ever said this before, but we have not done a good job.
Mm.
And in my head, I thought, yeah, you could like not charge me the mulch fee to drop it off. And then I just said, no.
Well, just her understanding where you were coming from was enough. Like
Yeah.
next time her business won't make that mistake for someone
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all people want. They just want you
Right.
to admit that something didn't go well for them
Yeah.
and ask if there's anything you can do. And sometimes that's all that's really required.
Yeah. 90% of the time, what people want you to do is take the time to hear their story.
Mm,
And so we want everyone to hear our story. And so
right.
we launch into it. Let me tell you this, right?
Sure. Right.
But if you say, help me understand what your experience is, and doctors say this to me all the time. I don't have time to say that. Well, the problem is you probably do because you're going to end up having cleanup on aisle 8 if you don't do it. But
Right.
you also can say this with boundaries. I really want to know your experience. I've got other patients waiting, but I'd like to just take a couple minutes for you to tell me where you're at. What are you upset about? So you
Right.
you set the boundary. I have other people. I have a few minutes.
Sure.
And then most people will do that. And occasionally you're going to get that compulsive talker,
Hmm.
that lonely person. And you're going to have to say, wow, I wish I had more time, but I don't.
Right.
This is what I hear you saying. Let my staff person or whoever follow up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think what I hear from many veterinarians when I talk about conflict, because I got to the point where I enjoyed conflict. And it was
Yes.
mostly from the viewpoint of I enjoyed the challenge of keeping myself calm and focused because I am an impatient person and listening to the person's story and getting to a resolution, whatever it
Yeah.
was. Like they might not be happy, but getting them calm so I could either get them out of the hospital or fire them as a client or whatever the resolution was. But for me, it got to be a fun challenge for me to see how well I could handle it. And then when I did
Yes.
handle it well, I was really proud of myself. I'm like, "Ooh, I'm good at this conflict thing." It doesn't always go well, but a lot of vets come to me and they say, "Well, I hate conflict." And I say, "It isn't always comfortable, and it usually isn't comfortable. When I say I like it, it wasn't comfortable. It was just the challenge I liked. But you can practice it.
Yes.
You can work on it. You can get better at it." A lot of people think that you're either good at conflict or you're bad at conflict. And I don't think
Right.
that's true.
No, it's a learned skill.
Yeah,
Think
it's a
about it
skill.
practically. We're
Hmm.
all born as infants. Why would some
Sure.
people have the skill and some people not?
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, it's my story, your story, and then together it's an our story. And
Right.
that's the part that really helps conflict get resolved is you can't resolve a conflict if you can't take the time to hear someone else's perspective. And I
Sure.
do understand sometimes you don't have the time. You have an emergency, you have to go, but you can take the 12 seconds to say, I would love to hear your perspective, but I have an emergency and I really can't hear it today. Could we call you later?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, but that's the process. That's psychological intelligence. I know what my story is. I want and am open to hearing your story, even if you don't agree with one thing about it. And together we create our story.
Yeah. And how do you recommend people deal with that uncomfortableness that they feel walking in? Like we sometimes have people in huge emotions, like huge
Yes.
anger, huge grief, and that uncomfortable feeling of walking into that, not knowing what's going to happen, is part of the reason people hate conflict, right? So
I,
what is
I
your
think,
kind of your advice about that, like
yeah,
physical, like almost like fear or danger, your brain saying danger, danger, this person's angry, and staying calm through that.
anybody who can cut open an animal and operate has the skill set because when you perform a
Yeah.
surgical procedure, like I would scream and run away.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely
can't
right.
even imagine cutting open an animal, right? But
Yeah.
I would imagine most vets, I mean, they're super caring people
Right.
and they had to learn how to regulate themselves and
Sure.
then cut. It's
Correct.
just using the skill you already have and applying it to someone who's emotionally dysregulated,
Mm,
and understanding that when you're with someone else who's emotionally dysregulated, they have mirror neurons. This is a science. And their dysregulation becomes contagious
mm,
unless you prevent yourself. It's kind of like viruses and masking. You have
yeah.
a higher chance of not catching it if you wear a mask.
Right.
And so you ground your feet, you say to yourself, they're dysregulated, you know, and you let them finish that 90 seconds. You don't interrupt. And when they're done, you don't tell them your story.
Right.
What you do, your number one goal shifts from, I want to tell you my story, because that's what we all want. We want
Yeah,
our
we want to
story,
defend ourselves.
right? Because we're
Mhm.
being attacked.
Right.
But there's a lot of times that we feel attacked and we're not defending ourselves, right?
Sure.
So we can go out and it's a super windy day and we're not like fighting the wind, right?
Right.
We're just readjusting ourselves so we don't get blown away or lose a hat or whatever. It's
Yeah.
readjusting yourself and then
Readjust. I
saying to
love
the
that.
person, this is what I hear you telling me. You're mirroring back their story. You are very disappointed because you had to wait an hour and a half and this cost you your workday. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then they say yes. And then you say, I am sorry. You can't defend when someone has to wait an hour and a half.
No.
That is not defendable.
Right.
But you can apologize and say, that's not how we typically run the practice. Things happen. And I am so sorry. That has been so inconvenient for you. You know,
Yeah.
and again, I do recommend in medical practices that when somebody has to wait, that there's some kind of little gimme to say, we're so sorry. I had this with my children's pediatrician. I mean, I would wait 2 or 3 hours and I'd be
Hmm.
missing clients. And I said to her once, I don't know, I feel like you should be giving something. And so then they made these little bags of candy.
Yeah.
And it was, we're so sorry that we inconvenienced you.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it was such a thoughtful gesture, right? And so, you don't have to do that because a lot of times just apologizing is enough.
Yeah. Or just acknowledging the fact that they're waiting. Like,
Yes,
I would much rather have a doctor's office say to me, I know you've been waiting 30 minutes. I'm so sorry. Is
yes,
that okay?
yes,
Do you want to reschedule? The doctor is busy, or whatever they say to you, like blah, blah,
yep,
blah. But just the fact that they're acknowledging that I'm waiting rather than they're just leaving me sitting there for an hour without saying a word, because then I don't know what's happening. I'm like,
yes,
did they forget me? What's going
yes,
on? Are they just ignoring me? Are they back there eating bonbons? Like
yes,
that's what we think people are thinking when we're back there busting our butts. But I
yes,
think if in your practice you can have the policy that like, look, the people at the front desk have to pay attention to who's been waiting and how long, and then
yes,
make sure they check in. Like it seems like you've
yes,
been waiting a long time. It looks like we're 20 minutes past your appointment time. Can I get you a bottle of water? Can
yes,
we reschedule if you
right.
can't wait any longer? The doctor's with another emergency or whatever it is. But I think sometimes that little bit of compassion ahead of time can prevent some of the blowups, but
Yes,
also acknowledge people's feelings because it's
yeah,
not fun to sit and wait in a waiting room. I hate it. But
yeah,
when I was a vet, a lot of people waited for me a long time because I was
yeah,
busy.
yeah.
And
And
so,
again, I think that's preempting conflict.
sure.
The vet practice I go to, she's outstanding.
Yeah.
Everybody in the practice is trained in their Myers-Briggs type. She has a lot of emotional intelligence, connected to it. And one time I was waiting, she's right across from the park, and I was at probably 25 minutes, and her person at the desk came up to me and said, I'm going to be honest, she's going to be another 40 minutes. Do you want to reschedule, or if you want to go for a walk, I'll call you
Yeah.
at the park?
Right.
And I was like, oh, I'd love to go for a walk. She goes, leave your cat behind the desk and go for a walk.
Nice.
So
That's smart.
and I think because she has her staff trained in emotional intelligence, they feel empowered
Mm,
to try to regulate the office in a
right.
way that they wouldn't be.
Yeah, to prevent people from being disappointed or frustrated or upset. Yeah.
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 Sometimes just calling it like it is super helpful and not
Sure.
pretending,
Yeah, pretending that, oh, we're always on time.
yeah,
Or, well, they should know that we have emergencies. I have people say that.
yes,
Well, how come they don't know we're busy? We're busting our butts back there. It's like, well, because they're not back there, number one. They don't see
yeah,
the chaos. They're
yeah.
sitting in the waiting room where it's quiet other than their dogs barking and they're getting frustrated by that.
But again,
But,
psychological intelligence isn't just my story.
right,
I think that when we talk about mental wellness, we're encouraging all of us, myself included, to move from a capital I, where I'm so central, to a lowercase italicized I, where I'm flexible and adaptive and I'm connecting, not just to the pet in front of me, but to their owners, to the staff. And we're all trying to be collaborative. My story, your story then becomes our story.
yeah, that's so important.
It
So important.
is. And it's a learned skill.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I try to tell my clients. It's like this isn't something that happens overnight. You don't get good at conflict overnight, but you have to
Yeah.
be willing to try because it
Yeah.
doesn't always go well. I've gone
Right.
into rooms thinking I'm a rock star at this, and I can't get that person to calm down for nothing. They're going to be mad and mean no matter what I say or do. And in those cases, it's almost like as long as I can stay calm enough to get them out the door, then I've won, you know?
Yes.
Like I
Well,
didn't
because
solve
yes.
anything. They are still unhappy. They're going to go give me a bad review or whatever. But I didn't make it worse by arguing or fighting or calling them names or getting
Right.
upset.
Because
Yeah, so it's
you
not
didn't
always
let
easy.
their values become yours.
Sure. Yeah.
Probably anyone listening to this podcast, it's not their value to call someone a name.
Right.
It's not their value to go off on a client, a
Right.
patient. And so that's when we feel the worst about ourselves, is
Sure.
when we aren't connected and acting in line with our values. And it's our job to stay connected to our values. We don't get a pass when somebody else dysregulates us.
Right.
It's our job to figure it out. So even in that case, you
Yeah.
win because you're
Yeah.
like, okay, whatever is going on in that person's life must be terrible because they're so unhappy,
Hmm.
but I didn't let them change who I am. And
Right.
that's a really powerful thing.
Yeah, I love that. I think just that thought is I'm going to stay who I am and I'm going to be the bigger person here and take whatever they throw at me and not fight back. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. Like there
It's
are
actually
times
the
when you have
opposite.
to get firm. You have to say,
Yeah.
look, you're swearing at me and I don't tolerate swearing, and I have to ask you to leave.
Yeah.
I was trying to help you with whatever issue you were having, but now you've gone too far. And I've done that before. I even
Right.
hung up on a lady once because she was screaming at me and swearing at me. And I said a couple times, I'm like, look, I'm willing to help you, but if you keep swearing and screaming, I'm going to hang up.
Yeah.
And I said it twice and she kept doing it. So I just was like, click.
Right.
That was back in
Because
the old
again,
days when I had to hang up the phone.
yeah, your values are I don't let people mistreat me.
Right. Yeah.
And
I
so
think
you give a
sometimes people,
warning.
yeah, you give them a warning, you set a boundary, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think because sometimes people think that you have to be walked on to be good at this.
No, it's the opposite. It's that, there's a conflict style, like, are you a shark? Are you a teddy bear who accommodates? Are you an shark, teddy bear, a turtle who avoids it, a fox who manipulates? But the healthy one is an owl, that you're a wise person who assesses the situation. And if someone is out of control and you can't bring them to a calmer place in a minute or two, then the best you can do to say is, we're not in a place where we can have a conversation.
Right.
And I can't continue to talk. So I'm going to have
Yeah.
to hang up. I wish you well. Beep.
Yeah. And what do you think about this? This is something that just popped into my head because I've talked about this before is when you have a hospital full of technicians, doctors, like let's say it's a pretty good size hospital, and you have some sort of conflict with a client or something, and the person that's getting the berating or whatever is gotten to the point where they just can't stay regulated, like they're really not doing well. How do you feel about them tapping out and saying, I'm not sure I can help you, but let me go get my manager or let me go get my doctor owner? Because I used to tell my team, it's like, look, if you're feeling backed into a corner and you're not handling it well,
Yeah,
then tap out. Get somebody that's better at conflict until you learn, then listen to
yeah,
them. I said, put your ear up to the door and listen to how somebody that's better handles it until
yeah.
you kind of get your own way of handling it. Like, what do you think about that?
I think that's great. I look at medicine as the greatest team sport ever invented.
Mm,
It's not
sure.
individual. There's no individual tennis in medicine,
Right.
whether it's vet or whether it's for people. And so I think it's really important that we understand our limits. No shame. People are very difficult these days,
Mm,
but also the value of saying, "Hold on, I see you're very upset. I just want to go check something out. I'll be back." That gives that person permission to calm down.
right.
Sometimes a little bit of alone time helps someone. Sometimes it revs them up. You can't
Right.
predict.
Yeah.
But there's no reason someone should stay and do a surgery when they're not able to do it,
Right.
right? And there's
Yeah.
no reason if you're, anytime you're working in customer service, if you feel like you're going to lose it, we did this in a school. Like I worked in a junior high, superb people working there, but we all were human. And there were occasions
The
where
kids push you over the edge.
yes, and we all had code words
Mm,
when we needed someone to help and step in. Mine was
yeah.
cupcake. Do you know what I mean? And so I worked in a room. There was the librarian. She was my person. And I would just be like, "Hey, Donna, you having cupcakes for lunch?" And she knew she was going to come in,
Yeah.
and sometimes I just stepped out. She wasn't
Right.
there,
Yeah.
you know. So that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, I think you need to know that as somebody that's says they're afraid of conflict or doesn't like conflict is that you don't always have to stay if it's not going well. And you can
Yeah,
always delay too. Sometimes it's like, I got to think about this. I'm going to call this person in an hour, or,
yeah,
I'll talk about to this person later, kind of thing. So sometimes that helps as well, as long as it doesn't make them more upset that you're delaying the talk.
yeah.
But
The
if it's
other
a team
thing is,
member, you can delay.
I think if you're going to be a person who leans towards growth, or just a person who's going to inhabit the planet, I just think you have to move beyond, I don't like conflict. I
Yeah,
think you have to be more honest with yourself. I haven't put energy into learning how to be good at conflict.
sure. Yeah.
And you have to decide when is the right time in your life to do that. Life has lots of competing needs. It may
Right.
not be a big enough issue, but eventually it deserves some attention. And
Well, and it's
it's not like a PhD or going to vet school.
right.
It's a little like 6 week learning process.
Yeah. Well, and you can practice it in everyday life. You can run into mean people
Yes.
at the store. Your family can be a source of conflict, your kids, your pets, like you said. You can
Yeah.
practice it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing is often we heighten conflict in ourselves because when things don't go our way, we get mad.
Mm-hmm.
And we can soften it by really thinking about and spending some time reflecting on, why do I think everything should go my way?
Yeah.
Because the world isn't set up to go our way. It's a very complicated place, whether it's I want all green lights or whether I want everyone to be easy to work with.
Right.
So it just helps soften it because the one of the like most underrated skills in conflict is becoming more patient,
Mm. Yes.
because conflict is rooted in the family of anger. And most anger is really about, I'm upset this isn't going my way.
Right. Impatience.
It's about impatience. And
Hmm.
impatience is a muscle that we grow and we become better at as we get older. And I can't say enough about how transformative deciding to become more patient is in a person's mental health.
Hmm. Yeah. It takes everything down a notch.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it becomes funny. Like when I get impatient, I say to myself, "Oh, am I hoping everything goes my way? Should this garden center be like revolving around my 3 phone calls that somehow they dropped?"
Right.
No, it's a very busy place. I'm not
Mhm.
their only person.
Yeah. And they don't know you from the next guy. So why would they
Right.
treat you special?
And they're all understaffed. People don't want to
Right.
do that kind of work today. So I look at these big businesses that are often family run businesses for generations, And it kind of is heartbreaking. Like, how are they making this work when nobody wants to do this kind of work?
Right.
Right. Like I
Yeah.
try to see the other side. What is their story? Why is this super competent business that's always called back no longer calling back?
Right.
Well, they probably don't
Compassion.
have enough employees.
Hmm. Yeah. So having compassion for the people that
Yeah.
are working there and are trying
Yeah.
to do a good job and are doing their best.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So, is there anything else we need to say about this before you tell me about your masterclass? I want to make sure before we end this podcast, you tell us a little bit about that because
Okay.
you're excited about that.
I am excited about that. And I think it really ties in to what we're talking about
Oh,
today.
good. Okay. Then let's
Um,
talk about that.
yeah. So back in the 90s, as a therapist, I had this family session, and this family had a lot of issues and they had grown a lot. And the mom said in one of their closing sessions, it's terrible that we learned all this because everything fell apart. I wish that we had a way to know this before we parented and had kids. And that made me think like that's terrible that somebody has to go to therapy or coaching to get
Right.
mental wellness skills.
Yes.
And I searched along with the librarian at the University of Notre Dame for a program. And this is 93, there was no program. So, make a long story short, I created it. And I worked for 21 years in a school. The principal was a visionary and incredible. And this junior high students and I really worked on what are the skills of emotional wellness? What did they need? And there was no social emotional learning. There was no life coaching in those days. This was not out
It
there.
was called self-help back in those
Yes,
days because I used to
yes,
read all the books because I thought it was fascinating, but it
yes,
wasn't it wasn't as big of a thing as it is now.
right. And it was self-help with telling you what to do instead
Right.
of understanding
What's
your
going
own
on?
biology
Hmm.
and your own self and leaning into that.
Right.
So my master class is a 12 video class with coaching connected to it. And we covered topics like what is mental wellness? 85% of coaches and therapists are operating without a definition of mental wellness. I think that's what we talked about on the last podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So think about in veterinary school, I mean, in the life of a vet, you have all these protocols. Like if you are taking out a spleen, you're not just winging it. You have protocols, you understand. And
Right.
that's what understanding the definitions of mental wellness, that is what we're trying to get to. And so, I talk about that. I have excellent lessons on emotional regulation. It's what I worked the hardest in my career because I nobody was really doing that in the 90s, and now lots of people are doing it. But I wanted a way that a junior high boy could learn to emotionally regulate themselves. So I had
Right.
7 models, and it's this last one called, you know, tend and befriend, that they love the most. And so, there's lessons in that. There's also like understanding lifespan development and what is the big question and the big crisis at each age and stage. And it helps people realize like, oh, the reason I have a hard time with initiative is because this is what stage in my life this happened. And
Hmm.
it's looking at things from a lifespan perspective. And this is the lesson that has surprised me because I almost didn't put it in. And it's the lesson that I keep getting really great feedback. Like, I've not ever even heard of this. I've never even read this. This is so helpful. This is so hopeful. And then I also talk about how to develop more social intelligence, more psychological intelligence. And then probably the most underdiscussed topic is spirit. That when
Right.
we talk about mental wellness, when we talk about mental illness, and they're very different,
Sure.
what we're always really gauging is one's spirit. And I really work with my clients a lot to read their spirit. And I don't mean in a woo woo way, but what every day we need to do a couple things that make us happy.
Mm.
We're living in a very task oriented culture, and that gives us in a sense of accomplishment. That's very left brain, but our spirit is right brain, that which helps us feel relaxed, that which rejuvenates us. And so there's a lesson in that. So there's 12 lessons. there's a ridiculously beautiful integration guide that was created. I wrote the guide, this illustrator did the guide. And so it's really a 4-month process. I have one person who's doing it over 5 months. It's all flexible. But if people are interested, I'll send you the link and they
Okay.
can do it with me. And so the purpose is to really understand mental wellness and really to help with anxiety, emotional regulation. And I'm going to be very honest. This was an impulsive thing I did. Michael Joseph McDonald, who's a documentary filmmaker, Oscar qualifying, met me and said, we have to do a masterclass. And I'm like, terrible on camera, not doing a masterclass. He goes, I have invented a camera where everybody looks good. So we literally sat down, no scripts, no, like we just did the 12 lessons. I mean, I had the 12 lessons that I had done on my
Sure.
podcast, and he just did a beautiful job editing it.
Nice.
And so it really has surprised me because I'm a therapist and I'm a coach. I have both.
Right. Right.
I'm not going into massive histories with people.
Right.
And like people are being like, this is so helpful. Like
Yeah.
I'm really learning what I'm learning in this course, what I didn't learn in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was really hoping because I've
Yeah.
had this program for 32 years. I've done it with tens of thousands of students. I taught it at Notre Dame. I did it for Notre Dame football. And it was really this idea of how could I get it out there? So
Yeah.
we can put it in the link. We
Okay.
can,
Yeah. And you know it works. I mean, I haven't taken it, but I may. Um, just getting to know yourself is really like the first step. And that's the thing you keep saying over and over. You got to know your values, your background, and it sounds like that's what you're going to work through in this class, which is amazing.
yeah. And, most people who are probably listening to this are in their, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Um, Most people actually know themselves pretty well, but they lose themselves.
To
And part
life.
of what to life, to what they think is happening online, to
Right.
what their parents wanted them to do, or their kids want them to do, or their boss wants them to do.
Right.
And part of mental wellness is getting grounded in yourself, not in a rigid way, but in a way that's flexible, adaptive, and coherent. This is who I am.
Right.
You know, I was at the school for 21 years. Just something inside of me said, it's time to go. It
Hmm.
was brutally hard decision. There was no one else who could do this mental wellness program. I did it. I created it. I knew that once I left, it would not be able
It
to
would go away.
continue.
Yeah.
And that was really hard.
Hmm.
And I just had to be me.
Yeah.
And I had to do the hard thing. And I had to like hear the disappointments. And could you stay one more year for my child? Or your child is my godchild. They won't get the 8th grade program. And I just had to not let my italicized connecting eye fold.
Right.
And so that's part of what we do in this program is I think I really help people lean into who they are. And that makes a big difference to stay
Mhm.
grounded in where you are and how you want to be at this time in your life.
Yeah, it helps with everything. It helps with anxiety. It helps with making decisions. It helps with feeling calm and
Yeah.
conflict and all the things, right?
Yeah.
The more you get in touch with you is it's so helpful.
Yeah. And it's
And
fun. Like
yeah.
it is really fun. I mean, that the whole thing has been, I didn't plan to do it. It just happened. And it has been really fun. It's been one of the most joyful experiences of my life to create it. There's been a lot of brutal moments in editing and all that, but
Sure.
in executing it now, it's just been fun.
Yeah. Anything worthwhile is difficult, but it
Yeah.
ends up being fun in the end. Yeah, that's
But
great.
I think what mental wellness does often is it gives words for what people intuitively and innately know.
Mm,
There's a lot of words in our culture. There's a lot of messages that make us think we should be this or that or this or that. And one of the things that the people who are doing it keep saying to me is, now I have words for this. And when we have words, that is super grounding, super grounding. So,
absolutely.
part of what happens when people are in their 40s and 50s is they recycle the question, who am I now?
Right. Yeah. Because you've done your
And
kids and you kind of get
yeah,
to that point where you're like, okay, now what?
yeah. And
Mhm.
so that process of, oh, this is who I am now, like that takes some reflection, some discernment. But when people put time into that, I have one woman doing the course for that particular reason. She's just like, oh, now I have words. I just had feelings. And
Mhm.
now I have actually a template to understand why, even though I'm a physician, even though everyone super respects me, I want to move out of this position.
Mhm.
I'm not crazy. I'm not being selfish. I'm not doing it because I'm unhappy. I'm doing it because inside of me, I want to evolve into other things. I
Mhm.
don't want to be this one thing for the rest of my
Right.
career.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where it really comes at it of giving people a space with no pressure to find those words for themselves and a template and a process to do it.
Sounds amazing. So tell people your website where they can find more information before we end
You
this.
have to send me an email to get more information. In
Oh,
all
okay. So
honesty, yeah,
so
my
we'll put
website
your
is
email.
very, yeah, it's
Okay.
MJ at mjmurrayvachon.com.
Yeah, I think I have it. So I'll make sure that it gets in the your
And I
email
have
gets
a
in the
link I
notes.
can send you
Yes.
for the trailer for the masterclass,
Okay.
as well as an automatic email to ask for more information. And then I just set up a call with people to see if it's really a good fit, because it is something that we want people to do it at the right time in their life.
Right, what they're looking for. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Well,
Yeah.
this was a really fun discussion about conflict. I really enjoyed it. I think it's super important for people to hear from you and the way you box it or think about it. I mean, it really is it is a good way to process all of this. So it's been really fun to talk to you, and I love all the things that you do. So hopefully
Thank
we'll get
you.
together again. We'll do
Yeah.
another one on
I do
something
want to
else.
say this to the vets out there. I don't know if this will get edited, but I want
No,
really
I
want to
won't
thank
edit it.
everything. I want to thank everybody in the animal world, because as a therapist, the role that animals play in today's world for people's mental health is significant.
Hmm.
And I had this thought in my mind. One of the reasons that you have so much emotion in your office today is because animals are really part of people's family.
Sure.
And so when something happens to them, it's no different than a grandmother or a
Right.
grandfather or sister.
Sometimes more
And
important than them.
and often treated better. And
Hmm.
so I think you probably don't get as many thank yous as I would like all of you to get. And you need to remind each other of the incredible role you have in a world that right now is pretty dysregulated and scary for people.
Hmm.
Animals are incredibly soothing and they're incredibly stable. I mean, I know there's bad dogs out there and everything,
Right.
but most people, and I think, I mean, I have a daughter who loves her dog so much. And I think that dog has had an incredibly great role in her life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, thanks for saying that because that's something I try to remind vets of all the time is how important what we do
yes,
is because sometimes it's so hard that we want to quit. And it
yes,
really is something that we need to learn how to handle the hard so we can love it and keep doing
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
And I could be, I've always thought like the life of a vet was pretty easy. And I have a friend who's a vet and she, I mean, that's what I kind of thought
Well, it
until I
seems
have
like
a
we play
really,
with puppies all the time, right?
yeah. And so I do feel for you, because if you're an ER doc, everybody knows that's hard,
Right.
right? But
Right.
in having my friend who's a vet, I'm like, whoa, that is such a hard life.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that is probably why people don't thank you that much, because
Right.
people do think like, okay, well, you've got my dog's crisis, and then you're going to
They
go
don't
like pet the
realize it.
puppy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. They don't realize what we actually do
yeah.
versus what they
So,
think we do. Well, this
yeah.
has been really fun. Thank you, MJ. It's been fun to talk
Thanks.
to you again. And everybody go listen to 380 because we talked once before. And hopefully we'll talk again because I really enjoy MJ.
Call me anytime. Thanks so
Okay.
much.
All right.
Bye
We'll
bye.
talk soon. Bye,
Thanks.
everybody. Have a beautiful week.